That is the magic of a proper Hardo bread. Dense, chewy, with that touch of sweetness. It's more than just bread, it's a staple of Jamaican life. Whether it's with a hot drink, piled into a sandwich, spread with jam, toasted, buttered, or just on its own, this bread is as hearty as it is versatile. If you're new to Hardo bread, I'd love to hear how you might use it in your meals. I'm Nick and I'm going to show you how to make it from scratch. No fuss, no guesswork, just a foolproof way to get the perfect loaf every time. I'll also touch on the background of Hardo bread, so let's get right into it. To get consistent results, I prefer weight measurements like ounces and grams over volume measurements like cups. Switching to using weights really changed my baking game and made it so much better. Before I started weighing my ingredients, I often struggled with inconsistent results, especially with bread. A pound is always a pound, but a cup can vary each time and kitchen scales are very affordable. Weighing not just the dry ingredients but also the liquids ensures accuracy and takes the guesswork out of baking. I'll leave the recipe in the description so you can grab it quickly and follow along. In a bowl, start with 12 ounces of room temperature liquid. I'm using whole milk, but you can easily substitute water or another type of milk. Half tablespoon instant yeast. Add 2 ounces of brown sugar. Traditionally, condensed milk was also used to enhance the sweetness of the bread. To really bring all the flavors together, I need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I still see people freak out about adding salt with yeast. It's really not a big deal. You need a lot more salt than this to even harm your yeast. Next, mix until everything is dissolved. Once dissolved, add 24 ounces of all-purpose flour. This dough is at 50% hydration, meaning the liquid weight is half the flour weight. Start by using a spoon to mix the ingredients. This helps keep things less messy. The dough should come together quickly. Once most of the flour is fully hydrated, add 1 ounce of room temperature butter for richness and 1 ounce of room temperature shortening for improved texture. Next, simply knead the fats into the dough. It might get a bit messy before it comes together again. Kneading on a work surface works better than in a bowl. It's easier to handle and helps mix everything more evenly. Using a stand mixer can save you a lot of effort. It kneads the dough quickly and efficiently, but I still enjoy kneading by hand. It gives me a better feeling for the dough. Since this is a low hydration dough, additional flour to prevent sticking isn't necessary. The lower hydration contributes to the bread's dense and chewy texture. Knead the dough until smooth, which should take about 8 to 10 minutes or a bit longer if needed. Half that time if using a mixer. Once smooth, shape the dough into a ball and prepare it for its first proof. While most breads proof for 30 minutes to an hour to get the right texture, Hardo bread benefits from underproofing. A 10 to 15 minute rest at room temperature is ideal, not to double the dough's size but to let it relax. After 10 minutes, the dough will be smooth and easier to handle. Shape the loaf by folding it over onto itself, then balling it up. This tightens the loaf and adds structure. Next, press the dough flat, keeping the seam side up. Roll the dough into a log by starting from the bottom and keeping it tight. Fold over the sides as you go, making sure the entire roll is tight. This will give the bread excellent structure. I always like to go back and pinch the seams to keep everything together. This is a 10-inch non-stick loaf pan, but I still like to grease and line my pans for extra insurance. Place the loaf in the pan and make sure it fits snugly. Cover the pan with a wrap or use a clean kitchen towel. My favorite method is to use an inverted loaf pan of the same size. Just like with the first proof, the final proof is more of a rest. Let it sit at room temperature for 10 to 15 minutes. Once rested, use a spray bottle to spritz the loaf with water. This helps with the rise in the oven and creates a gel on the surface of the bread, key for delaying browning and thickening the crust. Bake the loaf in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. For a thicker, softer and chewier crust, add a container of hot water to the oven. The extra steam helps to achieve that perfect crust texture. The loaf usually bakes for 30 to 35 minutes, developing a deep golden brown crust and a great color on the bottom. Unlike many breads, Hardo bread is delicious hot and fresh out of the oven, but I'm still going to let it cool a bit before slicing. If you tried this recipe, I'd love to hear how it turned out for you. Share the results and any tweaks you made. This is a 2-pound dough, meaning I use 2 pounds of flour along with the adjusted amounts of the other ingredients. This quantity is perfect for smaller loaves, especially if you have 9 or 8-inch loaf pans. I'll leave the adjustments for this recipe in the description, but the procedure and resting times are essentially the same. Hardo bread's history starts with British baking traditions. Originally, it was a dense, long-lasting bread used for long journeys and storage. When the British came to Jamaica, they brought these recipes with them, but the bread needed to adapt to the local climate and taste. In Jamaica, the bread became denser and slightly sweeter. This wasn't just to match the local flavors, but also to help it stay fresh longer in the hot and humid climate. The dense texture helps it to resist spoilage and the sweetness helps with retaining moisture. As time went on, Hardo bread evolved further. Different bakeries and regions in Jamaica each put their own twist on the recipe. This led to variations in sweetness, texture, and even ingredients. The influence of other Caribbean islands also played a role in shaping the bread. As Hardo bread spread across the Caribbean, each place added its own unique touches, creating a variety of versions with distinct flavors and characteristics. What do you know about Hardo bread? Let me know in the comments. There are many styles of Hardo bread, but this one is one of my favorite. I'll be working on more variations, so stay tuned. Breaking Hardo bread is so much better than cutting it. There's nothing like tearing into a fresh hot loaf. Will you be making this bread? I love to hear how it turns out. Drop a comment down below. A special shout out to all my patrons. Your support means a lot. Thanks for watching and I will catch you in the next one.